now? Good evening, everyone. This is Osama Sablani, and this is the weekly broadcast that we usually do on Tuesday night from the Arab American News. We're going to be talking tonight about two important subjects. Of course, the first important subject and the dominant subject right now is the coronavirus in the world, and especially in the United States, and most importantly here in Michigan in our community. That's number one. Number two, we're going to be talking about also the presidential election. Where do we go from here? Who is ahead? And how this election is turning around in favor of Joe Biden over Bernie Sanders. I have with me here tonight Amr Zahar, who was a surrogate, continue to be a surrogate for Bernie Sanders, Senator Bernie Sanders. We're going to be talking about the election on Tuesday, last Tuesday. Why did Bernie Sanders did not win Michigan? He won it in 2016 during the primary election at that time. What happened this time that he did not win Michigan? What went wrong? And how this election is going, which direction is going. It seems like the coronavirus effect is going to be affecting this election. We don't know how, but we're going to be discussing this and trying to figure it out. I would like to welcome you, Amr, for our broadcast tonight. You know, Amr, in 2016, first of all, welcome.
Hey, good to see you.
And we're keeping the distance.
Yeah, social distance.
I don't know if it's 6 feet, but
this is hard for Arabs too. You know, this is not normal for us.
yeah, we usually hold hands.
Yeah, that's right.
So, first of all, you okay? Everything is fine? I mean.
Yeah, I feel good. I've been, in my house for a few days. It's been difficult. As we know, Dearborn is a very social city. You know, everyone likes to go out. They like to see each other, like to be seen. And so it's hard. But, the most important thing that I feel good, they say that people who are, under 60 are going to be fine if they get it. But you shouldn't think that just because you're going to be okay, that it's okay to go out. Remember, you could infect other people who could be in a more dangerous spot.
Be very careful because I am 65.
You don't look. I thought you were 45, but
I'm almost 65 actually. I'm a senior citizen right now.
So really, people have to worry about others. This is one of the most important times where we understand that we're all in this together.
Yeah. I think we should really obey the instructions. Take it like a holy book at this time, because this is not a very easy time that we're going in. When I was driving in here, somebody, very important person, called me and said, Osama, you have to be careful. This is a very serious virus.
Yeah.
People are dying in hundreds in other countries, especially Italy. We have been lucky here in the state of Michigan. We're right now at 65.
Right.
That what we've been hearing from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. I do not know where we're going to be next week on Tuesday. Even personally, and everybody is listening, we don't know. This is the most unknown time.
Right.
And it's scary because it's unknown.
Yeah, I think that's what scares people the most, is that we don't know what's going on. We don't understand the impact of this thing. I mean, but to me, again, it goes back to the system that we live in, right? In South Korea, where they have 1/6 the amount of people that we do in America, they tested 200,000 people. We've tested something now like 20 or 30,000, just not enough. The system is not working for us. And yes, the unknown is we don't know how many people really have it. Right now, you can't get tested unless you show symptoms and you show that you've come into contact with somebody that has it. But how do I know who has it if nobody's getting tested? Yeah. So it's a real administrative failure.
You cannot even get tested if you don't have the symptoms.
Right, so you can't, right, exactly. So let's say I just say, hey, I want to go get tested because I want to make sure that, or let's say everyone in my house wants to get tested. I live alone, but let's say everyone in my house wants to get tested because we just want to make sure that we're not giving it to each other, you know? That's not available right now. The only way you can get tested now is if you're showing symptoms, if you're really sick, or if you can prove that you were in contact with somebody who has it. But since they're not testing massively, that's very hard to do. So the system is not working for us right now. In South Korea, which does have a single payer Medicare for all type system, everybody, they've tested 200,000 people. We're way behind. And I think that's what's scaring people the most, is we just don't know what's going on.
Okay, there is something else that adds to this kind of worrying, which is social media, because
Yeah.
we get lots of social media information that is misinformation,
Correct.
and sometimes it's dangerous information
Yeah.
because we don't know what the truth is. There has been a very, very, a flood of information on social media, WhatsApp and Facebook and Instagram, that it is not correct. And that adds to the fury that we have,
Yeah.
as a community. And also, people who are rushing to the supermarkets to buy everything on
Right.
the shelves,
Right.
which is like as if the end of the world.
Right.
And we still have a portion in our community. It's not a small portion, it's a sizable portion of our community. And in the United States, they do not believe that this is very serious virus.
Yeah, it's a major problem. And, social media is one of the problems. The beautiful thing about social media is everyone can say whatever they want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And the worst thing about social media is everyone can say whatever they want to say. So in times like this, everyone becomes an expert. What we have to do is we have to listen to the medical experts. Luckily in Dearborn, we have a lot of Arabs, we have a lot of doctors. So we can call our doctors, we can call people and ask. But really common sense. And look, I know it's hard. And look, especially among Arab Americans, I'm a little more worried because we have this thing of like, look, we can beat it. If I just go out, I'm strong enough. That's not the way it works. It's not the way it works.
Somebody died in Spain, 21 years old.
Right.
He's a coach
Right.
for football. So I mean for
Right. Soccer. Yeah.
So it's not the age.
Right.
It's how the the health conditions.
Yeah.
There are many factors to it, but this is very scary.
Yeah.
Because we don't know, what is this virus and how. Now they're saying that the virus is also can be caught from the air.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe we don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to listen to the experts. In this time of a lack of information, what the experts are telling us is stay away from each other. Because we don't know, we need you to stay
But how
away from
could
each
you
other.
Look, how could you stay away
Yeah.
when you need to buy food,
Right.
when you need to go and pump gas, when you need to take your kids to I mean, the kids are not going to be able to stay for 1 month in a room.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter the Xbox and all the games that they have.
Right.
They're going to consume them in one day.
Right.
So what? How can you be constrained to a room or to a home when you have to do all the stuff, and when you go and touch doors and
Right.
maybe gasoline nozzles and all the stuff? How do you protect yourself?
It's funny. My sister's a single mom, and she lives in LA with her daughter. Her daughter, my niece, is 4 years old. And kids are smart. If you tell them the truth, if you say to them, look, we're living in a time where people are getting sick, and so we need to stay inside, guess what? They understand. And kids have compassion, And so, in my comedy, I deal with a lot of families, a lot of kids. The nicest, most open people usually are kids.
Really?
So I think if you, and they're smart, especially Arab kids,
Yeah.
So, you can tell
not
them.
biased at all.
That's right. No, you can tell them the truth. You can say, look, this is what's going on. And my niece, I FaceTime with her every night, and she's the one that tells me, Khalud, don't go out. People are getting sick. So, we have to be honest with everyone what's going on. Look, maybe in 2 weeks we'll live in a different world where we have a lot more information, and this will all seem easy. But sometimes we get
So you think we
spoiled
should
in
be-
America.
So you think we should be very careful for the next 15 days? Because in the next 15 days, we will probably have more information about this virus and more information of how to fight it.
Yeah.
Maybe by that time we'll have a vaccine. Maybe by that time we have test kits that we can. I'm the chairman of the board for Garden City Hospital.
Yeah.
And we're dealing with a lot of information
Exactly.
about this, and also requests. And there isn't enough testing kits right now in the hospitals in order to accommodate all these requests. Anyway, I have you here for a different reason.
Yeah.
But of course you are knowledgeable about this, and we need to talk about this
Yeah.
to our community.
But listen to the doctors. That's the most important
listen
thing.
to the doctors and to those people who
Yeah.
are really, understand this,
Right.
and not to everybody that has
Right.
social media. out there.
Right.
Anyway, and I think we have the most probably difficult problem because Thursday we have to go to press. And
Right.
everybody has to come to work.
That's
to
right.
put out a paper.
Right.
So it's very, very difficult. We
Right.
don't know how to handle this. But
Right.
anyway, we're going to keep our social distance until Thursday and see what happens.
Yep.
But I have you here because I think this election it's come at a time probably of the most important and crucial time in the world, and probably in the United States as
Mhm.
well. Um, I have seen in the last 3 days different President Trump that I have, I'm accustomed to. He is calm. He's trying to be presidential. How did you see that, Amr?
Somebody got to him. Somebody convinced him that this is a time when he needs to be mature, and that he can probably benefit. Let's just speak in, let's take the human terms out of it, just talking political terms. Somebody also convinced him that this is a time where he can gain a lot of political capital if he acts in this more mature, fatherly way. And he has. He's still saying a little stupid things here and there.
On Twitter.
Yeah, but he's lowered the bar so much that when he just acts like a human being for 15 minutes, we think it's a big deal. Look, you remember after 9/11, we all knew that George Bush was not the smartest president in the world before 9/11. We knew that he had a lot of problems. We knew all these things. But the truth is, in a time of a national crisis, people want to rally around their president. And so George Bush, who we knew was not smart, was not a great president, had something like a 90% approval rating after 9/11, because we do want to rally around. That's why, from a purely political point of view, I think that this is probably going to turn out to be pretty good for Trump if he stays in this way, if he doesn't freak out. If he keeps with these press conferences, deferring to the scientists, staying in some semblance of reality, this is a real problem. Like today, for instance, he said, and it was amazing, he said, yeah, we might have a recession, but he sort of said it as, look, and when you say that as president, you sort of lessen the blow of it when it comes. Right, and so that's what he's doing politically.
It's very obvious because the Dow Jones is just going down.
Sure, but I mean, but he said it openly today. Whereas, this is every other day he's talking about the stock market, and now he's talking about putting money in people's hands. These things are things that we expect the president to do, and so in a time of crisis, is going to rally.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the money. We're going to have Rashida on the phone in a few minutes, and we're going to be talking about this with Rashida because the Congress right now is talking about stimulus package that could put money in the hands of many people. But you know what happened usually in this country. Usually they take the money and they give it to corporations because the corporations right now are suffering, especially in all the industries, but in particular the airline industry.
Yeah.
Now they're talking about, even the president said, we're going to give them money. We're going to bail them out. So this is going to be an issue that we will be talking to U.S. Representative Rashida Tlaib, who will be joining us on the phone in a minute. But let me go back again to the primary. And why do you think, my initial question to you, why do you think that Bernie Sanders did not do this time around as well as he did in 2016?
So I think there's two reasons. The number one reason is Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton's a different candidate than Joe Biden. There was a real sort of dislike for her that doesn't exist about Joe Biden. But also what we saw from the numbers is that many communities voted the same way that they did in 2016 with Hillary and Bernie Sanders, especially the black community. Bernie ended up doing about the same with the black community in 2020 as he did in 2016. And the Arab American community, which I want to talk about in a second. But what we saw was white sort of liberal working class people just bent a lot more towards Joe Biden this time. I think they're wrong. I think that Joe Biden we're asking for disaster with Joe Biden, just like we did with Hillary Clinton. And so I think that's why Michigan went the way it did and why a couple states will go the way they will tonight. But I really want to highlight, which how wonderfully the Arab American community performed. So, Dearborn is a snapshot of the Arab American community throughout Michigan.
Well, actually, it's a ground zero.
It's ground zero, but I mean, not all the Arabs live in Dearborn. That's what I mean, And in Dearborn, we had a 50% increase in turnout in the Democratic primary from 2016. We went from 12,000 to 18,000. And Arab American
people were lining up to vote.
Oh, it was and Arab Americans, from the numbers that we did, voted something like 85 to 90% for Bernie Sanders. So what does that mean? That means as an Arab American community and organizers, we were able to push out the vote and unify the vote, which means a lot more respect and power for our community, whether our candidate wins or not. And what we saw at Dearborn City Hall, which I know the Arab American News covered, is because of same-day registration, and I was there, hundreds of Arab Americans, mostly, because we wait till the last minute, mostly young people, were there lining up to register and vote on election day. And that's a wonderful thing to see in our community. And there wasn't only young people. I saw an 85-year-old woman. I saw young people, 18-year-olds. It just spanned the gamut of our community. So it was really beautiful. I thought our community really came out and performed beautifully. I hope we keep doing that, because the truth is now, just like coronavirus, no one knows what's going to go on with this primary. We have 25 more states or something like that to vote, and voting is going to stop tonight. There's not going to be a primary next week or the week after that or the week after that.
That's what I'm going to ask you. You are in touch with the Bernie Sanders campaign still, right?
Somewhat, yeah.
So I just wanted to ask you, what is their forecast on what's going to happen next after this Tuesday? This is the third Super Tuesday, mini Super Tuesday that we have. We don't know the results yet because they're coming out as we speak. But what do you think? What do you think is going to happen after today? What kind of primaries we're gonna have? Are they gonna ground all the primaries, no elections anymore for the primary until further notice?
Well, look, we saw, for instance, there was supposed to be a primary today in Ohio. That got grounded. Ohio is one of the biggest states in America.
So no primaries in Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, nobody voted today, you know, and so that means they're not going to release any results, and they're going to find a way to get people to vote, then they'll release results. But here's the reality. I hope Bernie Sanders stays very strong in the race. And I think he will, because Bernie's not a normal politician in the sense of he doesn't view this through the lens of...
He's an activist more than a politician.
Yeah, he doesn't view it through the lens of his own future or his own popularity. He really does see himself as part of a movement. And that movement has principles and ideals and goals. And the presidential campaign was always a way of bringing these ideas to the forefront. And so if we want to push the Democratic Party, which that's what we're trying to do, instead of starting a new party, which, trust me, the Democratic Party doesn't want us to do. If we are trying to push the Democratic Party, then I think we have to stay in
do you think
as long as possible.
I mean, I don't want to interrupt, but do you think that we already have a third party? I mean, the movement that Bernie Sanders started, it's very evident. It's in the U.S. House of Representatives. We have a caucus, progressive caucus, that's about 90 members of the U.S. House. They are in this caucus. This is a progressive caucus.
Yes.
And so the movement is going on. I don't know if it's a third party or not, but it looks like that we're heading into a third party.
Well, if the Democratic Party is not careful, that's where we're heading, right? We're heading towards a third party on the left. And it's up to the Democratic Party now to say, look, do we want to expand the tent? That's what we've been saying in the Bernie Sanders movement. You know, they always attack us for saying you must vote blue no matter what and all these kinds of things. We're telling them, look, we were never really part of the traditional Democratic Party. We're joining the Democratic Party because of this weird two-party monopoly that we have. But we are saying to you, you can expand the party. If you're willing to denounce corporate interest, if you're willing to say this is a party for the people, if you're willing to say government needs to take care of the weakest, which is the ideas of Medicare for all and that kind of thing, if you are willing to do these things, we can expand the Democratic Party in a beautiful way and win elections. Biden is going to lose to Trump if he doesn't expand the party.
Okay, we're going to take a break and come back and continue the discussion and have U.S. Representative Rashida Tlaib join us.
Sounds great.
So let's take a break and we'll come back. We'll come back right away.
Yeah.
Hey, Michigan, the census is confidential. Personal information cannot and will not be shared with any agency, and your federal tax dollars will come back to Michigan. Don't let rumors, misunderstandings, and misinformation prevent you from filling out the census this spring. It's only 9 questions, it takes about 10 minutes. So count everyone in your home. When everyone counts, everyone wins. To learn more, please visit myvoicecounts.org. That's mivoicecounts.org.
We've got great deals on the newest models at our Farmington Hills Suburban Honda dealership. With our committed service team, you're sure to find the perfect ride. Like one of our certified pre-owned vehicles with available warranty. Call Samir Rida at 313-377-2121 today or visit suburbanhonda.com. That's 313-377-2121. Ask for Samir.
Michigan. The census is only 9 questions and takes about 10 minutes. And money for your kids' school lunches and food assistance relies pretty heavily on your participation. It's easy. So fill out the census this spring and count everyone in your home. When everyone counts, everyone wins. To learn more, please visit myvoicecounts.org. That's mivoicecounts.org.
We are back, and we are here in the studio, and today is Tuesdays, and of course we have the weekly broadcast from the Arab American News. I have with me in the studio Amr Zahar. On the line we have U.S. Representative Rashida Tlaib, who is going to be joining us, and we're going to be talking about the stimulus package that the Congress is discussing right now, and what the Senate has passed, what the President has said. What are you going to get as a family, and also what's going to happen for the small businesses that they are right now in a bind, as far as laying off some people, or maybe their businesses is suffering because of the moratorium that they put on not having people to come to cafes, restaurants, and bars and other entities. Especially the hookah bars are right now banned in Dearborn. So let me ask you first, Rashida. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you taking the time and joining us from on the phone, and we hope one day to get you to the studio to ask you all the tough questions. I know you can handle any question we can throw at you. Let me start by saying to you, what do you think about this primary? How did this primary is going? What do you think? And you think that the primary is going to continue with the virus taking over the United States and even the world?
Yes, unfortunately, you can see a tremendous amount of both Democrats and Republicans, those that are in power, that are elected, including governors, are saying, let's just move forward with the election as if it's normal. And we have, everyone knows this is a huge public health crisis, probably one that we'll probably never experience again in our lifetime. And for so many folks, they stayed at home and they didn't go out to vote because they felt like they didn't have an option. It was either their public health or them exercising their democracy and their right to vote. And so I'm really disappointed, not only from, Tom Perez and others that think that we should move forward as usual, and I really think that we should have delayed and made sure that everybody had access to the polls, including those that might really have pre-existing conditions, maybe older and vulnerable to this virus. To me, it was very discriminatory, very much undemocratic for us to move forward with an election, one so important, that we would move forward without consideration that we are in the middle of a huge public health crisis in our country.
I don't know if I'm sure you're aware today, the Secretary of State in Michigan here, Jocelyn Benson, is contemplating on having votes by mail. Is that something that you think it's a good idea?
Yes, of course. Yeah, and I think, look, it's possible today. I mean, we're blessed in Michigan that we have new laws, voting laws that allow us to be able to vote by mail in a way that, again, allows access to everyone, no matter their condition, no matter the situation, and for them to, again, be able to exercise their right to vote. A true democracy is one that includes everyone, and one that is very much in line with, again, number one priority, access. It can't provide access when you're telling people to stay home, to self-quarantine themselves, to not be in a place with more than 10 people, to do social distancing. You can't be asking them to do both. It's impossible.
Okay, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but how serious do you think this virus is? Sitting in Washington and talking to legislators, and you're privy to information probably we are not privy to it at this time. How do you think, how serious this virus is?
I think it's extremely serious. This might be only my only year here, but one of the things that is very clear is that we don't have enough resources to tackle this, that we don't even have the infrastructure in place to tackle something that is spreading very quickly. People are saying, well, this is the only number of people that have actually been confirmed to have coronavirus, but that's because we haven't been able to test more people, right? And people are reacting to it differently. I don't want to alarm folks, because I think we're stronger than we can imagine, especially in situations like this. But I do urge people, please, don't push these conspiracy theories. Don't try to discourage people to go seek help because they're worried about, bills and things of that nature. I got to tell you, it is very, very clear that there's a bipartisan, at least, support that we make sure that testing is free, that no matter your, immigration status, insurance status, that everyone has access to testing and treatment. So it's very, very important that people follow direction, understand the importance of some of these, requirements to stay home. I know this is very painful for at least my small businesses, but it's also very painful for my senior citizens who, just today I made a number of calls, Osama, and one woman's like, I usually go on Wednesdays to go shopping with all my friends to get my groceries. People are going to be really isolated, and it's a mental stress on many of my seniors. And, lay on top of that is even me, I'm a person that's homeschooling and representing 650,000 people at the same time and trying to explain this to my children, is to take it very seriously. I don't think the governor of Michigan would issue these kinds of executive orders if this wasn't a huge crisis.
Do you think that Governor Whitmer is doing the right thing in here? What else can she do in order to accommodate people and direct this state into a safe mode?
I think she's doing the right thing in that she's listening to scientists and public health officials. A number of my colleagues, that represent 49 other states, many of them are saying, wow, your governor did the right thing in closing schools down. Mine just did it, a week later. Where some are also expressing concern because some governors haven't actually stopped, large gatherings, and she has. So she's very much moving ahead because I think she's very cautious and listening to, again, not the politicians, the donors, listening to public health officials, to scientists that are telling her this is extremely dangerous for people's public health. And so she's doing the right thing. Today we got notice that our state will be one of the first few that actually will qualify for disaster relief for small businesses.
What does that mean?
Loans. So Small Business Administration has millions of dollars to help small business communities. And I will, by the end of this call, will get you the phone number that people can call. There is a hotline right now with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation for small businesses that are going to suffer, because many of our small businesses, they don't have these rainy day funds, this cushion there that is, many of them did depend on the graduations that are supposed to have happened in the spring. Even St. Patty's Day, I hear some of my folks saying, I lost millions because of events that were around the St. Patrick's Day celebration. So it is very important, again, that, people know that we as a state have been applying for these federal grants, and the Michigan delegation members of Congress have worked directly with Governor Whitmer to making sure these policies. I just recently finished a letter to the president and the vice president and Department of Homeland Security urging them to keep the border between Canada and the United States, and especially in Detroit border, open, at least for public health officials. We get thousands of public health officials, including nurses, about 1,000 alone just at Henry Ford Health System. We depend a tremendous amount, our public health systems depend so much on Canadian healthcare professionals that come across the border every single
Well,
day.
the Canadian
So
have
we
kept
work
it
with
open, though.
Well, they have kept it open now for U.S. citizens, for green card holders, so legal permanent residents, and for folks that have a Canadian card.
Right.
But again, we want to urge the Trump administration. They tend to act without talking to people, as folks know, and they tend to kind of move really rationally without knowing anything. So we got bipartisan support. Both Republican and Democratic Congress members in Michigan have signed on to this letter, urging the Trump administration to keep the border open, at least, limited openness for these public health officials to be able to come through.
There has been talks and rumors, and maybe like even the president said it today, and the vice president and also the treasurer, the secretary of treasury, said that there will be some money handed to American families in order to help them out in this crisis. What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, so I know House Financial Services, chaired by Maxine Waters. We're having a call tomorrow morning. One of those proposals are on the table, not only mortgage forbearance or mortgage relief for payments for maybe a few months. We have to look at the proposal that's going to be set forth and discussed tomorrow. But also, I have a proposal on the table which we call automatic recession payments. Basically, every American, every folk out there that, including those that are disabled and that doesn't have taxable income, maybe you're a student, zero income, it doesn't matter. You would all get at least a minimum of, I think we have it down for $2,000 up to $6,000, depending on families. And again, that number can change.
Is that a lump sum number, or it's a monthly?
Yeah. So this again, it could get up to 6,000 right now. But again, that's just the one proposal. But I know that this is going to be discussed among both Republicans and Democrats and what that right amount is. The good news is at least there is a small amount of Republicans that agree with the Democrats that direct payment is extremely critical during this time. And for those listening, we had a great recession, right? We bailed out Wall Street, we did banks, everybody, and it really didn't stimulate our local economy very quickly, because I know what happens when you do that. They hoard the money, they keep it. But boy, if you put the money into my residents' hands, into your hands or anybody, they spend it. They're going to spend it at the local restaurants, even if they have to get delivered. They're going to spend it at the grocery store, the gas station, whatever it is. My folks tend to use it because we're in survivor mode right now. I mean, many of us are literally living check by check. The majority of Americans are living check by check. So when you give them these amounts of money directly in their pockets, they're going to stimulate the local economy instantly. We're not going to have to pray and hope, and like we do for corporations left and right, and saying if we just bail them out once, they're going to help stimulate the local economy. They don't. They provide my residents with low-wage jobs. They hoard it. They do shareholder payment processes and stuff versus actually really helping make sure our country thrives and doesn't leave anybody behind. So again, I don't want to talk about amounts as much, but know that the minimum I've heard is 1,000, and the most I've even heard is 5,000.
What about?
Just look out for that, and we'll see what happens.
When do you think this is going to happen? In the next week, people would know.
Yeah. I think this is the week we're putting the proposals together. We're going to be asked to come back to session probably next week. And again, there's been discussions about what that would look like, because maybe not all members, especially those that are vulnerable, should not probably be coming, especially with pre-existing conditions. I worry about people like John Lewis, who's been diagnosed with cancer, right? I worry about some of my other colleagues who are really, up in age, have been there a long time, and are very vulnerable to this, and we want to make sure that we protect them. So it might not be full members of House, but enough to get some of these legislations, these packages, especially the economic stimulus packages, moving very quickly.
Well, the Senate has passed something. Can you explain to us what the Senate has already passed?
Yeah, so the Senate passed what the House passed. So I can tell you a little bit about that. And we worked really, really hard on this, and I'm going to pull it up right now. But the total amount was about $8.3 billion. It expanded, paid sick leave, unemployment benefits. It was a tremendous amount of work on the food assistance, because so many of our folks, especially children that benefit from SNAP, will now get expanded benefits from that. one of the other key issues that came about was to do with healthcare providers. So making sure that we provide folks enough money to research to cover testing. You know, you hear Speaker Pelosi say testing, testing, testing. She was very serious about it. That was the center of the proposal. And part of that also entailed making sure that, you know, the requirements and criteria for like unemployment benefits, that it wasn't limited so that more people can actually apply for those benefits. I'm trying to pull it up now, but yeah, much of what we passed I think, was.
I wasn't. I wasn't.
This is moving quickly, but it doesn't. Like the paid sick leave doesn't cover enough people. Now there seems to be an appetite because a lot of people criticize us. Oh, well, you should have gone further. And you know me, I'm pretty progressive. I'm a hard hitter when it comes to this. But we couldn't pass what they call a suspension bill without 2/3 of the House, which included Republicans. They wanted paid sick leave completely out. We pushed back, met them at the middle to get this done as quickly as possible. Now that this has gotten worse, they're now saying, oh, well, yeah, maybe we got to do more. Well, great. Now let's go back to the table and do more and expand it.
Okay. I know that Amr has a question, so go ahead, Amr.
Hey, Rashida. I have two questions, actually. The first one I'll ask you, and then I'll ask you the second one after you answer the first one. But a lot of the talk out of Trump today, and I assume in the House as well, has been about some corporate bailouts too. You know, Delta, for instance, Detroit is a big Delta hub. How do you feel about using some taxpayer money to help bail out things like the airline industry?
I'll tell you, I think it's not going to be a no-go for a lot of my colleagues, not including myself, if that's the only thing he puts forward. I can tell you this, if he wants our votes on even just any corporate bailouts, which, by the way, if you look at the way we bailed out folks before, like Delta, it hardly touches people. It hardly would even touch the unemployed that are going to be impacted. They're already been impacted by this.
Right.
People are being laid off. Even many of them are service employees, right, Ahmed?
Right.
So, you know, he can put this at the forefront, but I don't think Democrats or any of us are going to, we're probably going to say no. We got to do the economic stimulus for people first. And one of the proposals I presented to Chairwoman Waters was, you know, the Federal Reserve Bank just bought off more debt for banks. But folks don't realize Federal Reserve Bank also has the authority to buy off local debt, meaning our local municipalities, maybe City of Dearborn, or in my situation, it's Dearborn Heights and Western Wayne and Downriver communities, much of which are now swallowing the cost of not turning people's water off and all of that. So, I mean, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act that we passed, you can see it was tooth and nail just to even get that, and that was such a bare minimum. I can't imagine my colleagues saying go for it. And I'll tell you, some of the more moderate and those folks that I don't agree with all the time also agree. Any corporate bailout, only bailout like payroll tax, yes, that could be helpful. But if we're not putting money back in the pockets of the customers that keep our economy going, then it's going to fail again and again, and it's going to hurt our folks. It's not going to work fast enough. Right. So I say no, hell no, actually, not until we you know, put a real proposal on the table that puts money back in the pockets of regular Americans, regular folks that are directly impacted by it now.
Okay, and my second question is this. I know Corona is dominating everything, but yesterday, Ro Khanna, who is the chair of the Bernie campaign that we both support, put together a letter from Congress that you signed on to, and I think something like 50 or 60 other Democratic Congress people signed on to, denouncing the use of American money for equipment that bulldozes Palestinian homes. You signed on to that letter, and it got sent to Secretary of State Pompeo. Can you talk a little bit about how that came about and how these issues are becoming sort of more and more at the top in Congress?
Yeah, I think more of my colleagues, and this is the largest incoming class since Watergate, ironically. And, you know, many of us are brand new. Many of us have never held office before. And, you know, we come in here and we see these human rights violations that are happening across the country. You know, it's not, we may be talking about this specifically, but I have seen a number of letters come through that say, look, we need to use the U.S. taxpayer dollar as leverage to promote human rights for everyone. And so we are seeing more and more of my colleagues presenting this and saying enough is enough. When we just found out the World Bank, which has a tremendous amount of U.S. dollars in there, might have actually funded the internment camps that in China that has, pretty much tortured and detained and used them as labor abuse. I mean, the kind of human rights abuse we've been hearing out of China with Muslims, the Uyghur community there.
Muslims,
So much of us are now speaking up about that. And, I sent a letter to the World Bank specifically on what's happening to Uyghur Muslims and the fact that, U.S. tax dollars, which is crazy, proposals coming in for handcuffs, Ahmed.
Right.
Surveillance equipment. I know a majority of Americans are saying, hell no. We don't want our dollars, our tax dollars, our precious tax dollars to be used towards these human rights abuses, which makes us less safe when we allow them to use these dollars that give us a bad image in other countries. And it's hypocritical of us to say we're this free country, we're this free world, but we don't believe other people need to be free of these sorts of oppressions.
Right.
And I know in my district, we're the third poorest congressional district in the country. Yeah, we rather be using that to stop foreclosures and water shutoffs than actually use it again to hurt other people around the world.
Right.
Rashida, I have a question for you, perhaps is the last question that we have, and thank you for your time. Are you surprised that only have 65 exposures confirmed in Michigan in 1 week, after 1 week of testing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a health professional, but I know this. This is kind of cumbersome of how many people we've actually tested, Osama. So seeing how fast this moved in other countries who actually have the capacity to test more people, I really believe that our country has been dealing with this virus long before we discovered it. And I think it has spread very quickly. I know that people are reacting, their bodies are reacting differently to this. So I'm not surprised as we test more people that we're starting to get more and more people confirmed for the virus. I've seen Washington State, the state of Washington, folks in Seattle and all those, they've been able to test even more people. And yeah, Osama, the more we test, the more we're confirming that this is spread throughout the country.
Well, I wanted to thank you for your time, Rashida, and I want you to stay safe because we need you. You said you still have 1 year, you still have a lot of time in the Congress. We need you to be there and working for Michigan and the American people. So thank you very much for your time. We appreciate your input, and God bless you.
No, thank you. You too. Thank you.
Well, what do you think?
Well, look, I mean, Rashida's right. There is, we are way behind in knowing. I think that's kind of one of the last things she said. We just don't know, right?
But aren't you surprised that only 1 week of testing and 1 week of talking about this deadly virus, and we only have 65 confirmed?
Well, I don't think.
And also, amazing thing happened that we don't have any death so far.
Sure.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not 1 week of testing. I mean, what do you mean by testing?
Well,
Again,
since the first finding of it was like Tuesday afternoon and early Tuesday at night, early Wednesday, which is almost
Sure.
a week. Since we've known that we have 2 people who've been infected that have been confirmed by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Today, as we speak, we have 65 that has been confirmed. Now, I know maybe we're having problem with testing. Now, Beaumont Hospital and other hospitals are testing themselves right now and getting results themselves. So they're saying right now that the Department of Health and Human Services, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, is taking about 4 to 5 days to give the results. Or to confirm or deny, a case of being infected. But now, Beaumont is releasing, a statement saying, had just released a statement saying that they're doing the testing, and most likely they will be able to tell within 24 to 48 hours.
Look, there was a time in Italy where they had 2 people, and a week later they had 60 people. So,
Right.
It's not too promising to me. We don't know. We're not testing everyone who wants to be tested. A lot of times, I'm sure a lot of these people are getting confirmed maybe after they come in with severe symptoms, and they're testing them for the flu, and then they don't have that, and they end up testing. So we're not really testing everybody. So I'm not I don't know if you asked the question with some optimism, but I'm not optimistic that there was
I-
two last week and
I'm
there's
asking with
65 now.
skepticism
It's
because-
probably a lot more than that. And the
Yeah.
truth is, it's a lot
I
more
think
than that.
people at their homes, they're asking, if this is a deadly virus, how come within 1 week we don't have a deadly a dead person, of the virus in Michigan that has been confirmed? Maybe we've had, but we don't have it confirmed. So the issue in here is I'm taking it very serious. This is a very serious issue. Everybody is taking it very seriously. Now, whoever is not taking it seriously is dead wrong. The problem is that when you ask these questions, they are legitimate questions.
Sure.
Is this a lack of information
Yeah.
that the state is not able, and that's why probably the president have tweeted what he tweeted about Whitmer, which I did not have the time to ask Rashida about this. But I think that what we're seeing today is amazing, something amazing in Michigan, that only 65 confirmed, and now we have as of 1 week since we found the first time that there has been a person that been infected by this or tested positive. We don't have a death yet that has been confirmed. So,
Look, I mean, the truth is, maybe we're lucky, but most likely is we don't know. I mean, there have been people who have died, and they're not contributing it or attributing it to the virus. Look, the truth is, every public health official is telling us we weren't prepared for this. We don't have a system that was prepared for this. We're trying to catch up now, and we probably know 10% of what we're going to know in a week from now. So the only thing we can do is what they're telling us to do. Stay at home. Well, I hope everyone has like NBC or whatever Arabic channels they watch. Catch up.
Or
on
watch
your
us,
movies,
or watch us, yeah.
Watch this 10 times in a row,
right,
whatever.
right.
Get used to staying in front of your TV, and because look, this is the only way we're going to be able to lessen the impact. Look, there's going to be more impact, right? We are trying to lessen it by telling people to stay at home and relax. And so the real question is, what are we going to know in a week from now? And we don't know the answer to that question. But hey, as you know, you're in the media. I was in the media, still am a little bit. I'm a comedian. You're doing all the more information is always good, even if it's not what you want to hear.
Yeah.
It's always good.
Of course.
And so we're gonna get more information.
Yes.
And that's the most important thing. And so people, especially in our community, look, we're gonna get hit hard in the Arab American community. The virus doesn't have to be deadly to hit us economically. We know now, I'll tell you, as a comedian, my life is social gatherings of 250 people or more. That's all I do all the time. I've had about 40 gigs canceled. Ramadan is April 23rd. That means all kinds of iftars are going to get canceled. Rashida just sent me a couple numbers that she wants us to. Send them to you too. I'll call them out real quick.
Okay. So if you are feeling some symptoms and you do not have a doctor.
That's right. So if you're feeling, these are from Rashida to the public out there. If you're feeling symptoms and you don't have a doctor, there's a number you can call, 888-535-6136. Okay, I'll say that again. If you're feeling symptoms and you don't have a doctor, you can call 888-535-6136.
Ahmad, can we put this on the screen so people can...
Yeah, let's try to put that again. If you're feeling symptoms,
888-535-6136.
Yeah, if you're feeling symptoms and you don't have a doctor. The second number is, this is a hotline for small businesses that are being directly impacted. You can call 888-522-0103. If you're a small business and you're directly impacted, 888-522-0103. I hope we get them on the screen, but that first one is very important.
But if we don't get them on the screen, we'll get them in the text,
in the comments.
above in the comments.
But there are resources out there. But look what's happening. I mean, I hate to say it, right? We have Rashida, who is a U.S. Congresswoman, sending us text messages of hotlines to call. Osama, our system doesn't work. We don't have a good system.
No, apparently we don't.
Yeah,
I mean, even doctors and specialists are saying that we don't have it.
That's why when we're, and I hate to bring this back to politics, but the politics of our movement and the Bernie Sanders movement really is about people. When we talk about Medicare for all, would Medicare for all solved all these problems? No, but we would have been more prepared. We would have a society that understands at least. There's probably, Osama, hundreds of thousands of people in America today who might have symptoms who are not going and getting tested because they're afraid of how much it's going to cost, or they're afraid that they're not going to have sick leave.
But they're saying everything related to coronavirus, testing, treatment is going to be free.
Is it yet? Do we know? Are all these questions answered yet? We don't know. The problem is we don't have a system that was ready for this. For instance, you are on the board of a hospital.
I'm the chairman of the board.
Sure, yes, sir.
Right.
And
yes. Just to correct the record.
Yeah. So, but a hospital in the sort of private patchwork system that we have, right, is going to keep. They run a business model. They're going to say, look, we're going to have as many beds as we think we're going to use. We're going to have as many ICU units as we think we're going to use. We're going to have as many ventilators as they don't prepare for massive pandemic crises like this because they make money.
Right.
But when you have a system that is not based on profit, it's more likely to not do that.
Just to be fair, I have received some calls from people who wanted to be tested and they could not be tested, and I sent them to Garden City Hospital and they got tested.
Yeah, but
so even though it's a profit hospital,
yes,
it's a non-profit. It is a profit hospital.
Nothing against Garden City Hospital,
but yet, no, I know the system is not working.
But not everyone knows the chairman of a board of a hospital.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Correct. That's correct.
And so we live in a world where, so when Rashida's talking about her, look, the truth is, when you don't have a system that works, who does it affect the most? Poor people, people of color, immigrants. When you have a voting system, like they tried to send everybody out to vote today, who are the people that are less likely to vote?
We have it on the screen right now.
Yeah.
So if you have a symptoms, call this number. إذا عندك أنت أي نوع عم تشعر بأنه ممكن تكون مريض من خلال هيدي الفيروس اللي اسمها كورونا فيروس، اتصل بالرقم 888. It's a toll free number مجانا. 888 535 6136 موجودة على سكرين هلا. If you have a symptom and you do not have a doctor, you do not have an insurance, call this number 888-535-6136 and they will direct you to what you can do.
First, of course, call your doctor first, deal with your doctor if you can. This is especially for people who don't have a doctor and don't have coverage.
And if you are in a small business, we will put this also in a few minutes. If you are in business, small business person, and you have a small business cafe, a small company, and you have to lay off people and you're having problem, the Small Business Administration loan are ready to help you. And you can call 888-522-0103, 855-522-0103, and our thanks, appreciation for U.S. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib for providing this vital information for us.
Yeah, and I mean, look, especially the people out there in the Arab American community in Dearborn, we know that luckily we have a small business flourishes in our community. Right. Warren Avenue is one of the most vibrant small business districts in the state. Right. And it's based a lot on social life, going out, having a cup of coffee, having a hookah, having dinner, and it's going to get hit hard. We have about, in 5 weeks from now starts the whole month of Ramadan, which all people do is 500 people go out to dinner at the same time.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
And
so right now they're preventing any gathering over 10 people.
Yes, which is in most Arab families, that's a house. That's that's dinner time. So it's really going to affect us a lot.
So now you're going to leave here.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? You're going to go home and sit home?
Yes. I mean, I'm going to go home and sit at home, watch this, send this link to all my friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, on a normal night, I would be going to a cafe. I'd meet up with some friends, even if I was going alone. This is our culture, right?
So Mango's right now is...
Hey, Mango's is takeout only, and as far as I know, there's no hookah takeout. So I mean, but we're going to have to get used to this, right? Because
it's only for 15 days, so we can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah,
Maybe it's a train coming towards us.
Exactly. The
Who
likelihood
knows?
is going to be longer than that. And we should be prepared for that.
Yeah,
but look,
yeah.
I also know that our community is very strong.
But
we're very united. And a lot of us have come from
here-
circumstances much worse than this.
And it says for business on the screen, but actually for a small business,
Yeah.
for the small businesses that they have been affected by this virus, and they have closed down for the time being, and they're not going to be able to meet their payroll. They may have to lay off some people. They're losing business because of what happened. For those small businesses, they can call this number for the SBA, the Small Business Administration, and they can apply for loans, and they can figure out what's there there to help them. 888-522-0103. Again, this is for the small business community, for anyone who has a business that has been affected by this coronavirus shutdown. Call this number, 888-522-0103. Again, our appreciation for Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, who has provided us with these two numbers. This one is for the small businesses, and the one before is for the people who do not have insurance and who do not have a doctor. And if they have symptoms of the coronavirus, please go and call again this number. And we're going to say it again, and we're going to put it on the screen, 888-535-6136.
Yeah.
Let me talk to you about something that happened last week in our community. Social media usually take things to a different level and probably out of bound most of the time. One supermarket in our community has been hit, with the social media for price gouging. And in fact, this particular supermarket has 60,000 items on the shelves. The only item that was really high and unbelievably high was the sanitizer. Usually they do not carry the sanitizer. They brought it in order to complete their line and for people to have it. And this went out of proportion, as far as price gouging or not. The supermarket, like other supermarkets, we have three major supermarkets: Papaya, Dearborn Fresh, and of course Greenland. Other small supermarkets, of course, available there. But these are and they are really providing a phenomenal service for our community.
Yeah.
The three of them. The prices are still reasonable, while other supermarkets, mainstream supermarkets like Myers, Walmart, and others, they are running out of stuff, and their prices also are not that reasonable. They are keeping their prices reasonable and their services open, and the shelves are restocked all the time. What do you say about this?
Look, I beg the Arab American community to not use this as a time to
Get at
call
each
out
other.
people or to try to settle scores against people or anything like that. This really is, and I know that our culture is good at this. This is a time for us to come together.
Yeah.
We really have to.
The whole
unite.
country is coming together.
Yes.
This community should come together.
Yes, and we know how to do it
Yeah.
in Dearborn Heights, the Arab American community. Look, there are going to be mistakes out there made. Let's assume the best of people. Let's not assume bad intentions.
Well, I know that they are good people. I know
Yeah.
that Dearborn Fresh has been serving this community very well.
Yeah.
And if this was a mistake, we should forgive. And if it's not a mistake, it will be explained. And when they have 60,000 items on the shelves and there is one item, I think we should be fair.
Well, not only that, it's our responsibility to assume that it was a mistake.
Right.
Let's be very careful in this time.
Right.
Look, Dearborn Fresh is that used to be a Farmer Jack, right? It's one of the biggest supermarkets. They're just building
Used to be
another
Kroger.
one.
Used to be
Kroger.
Right.
My point is, they're building big supermarkets everywhere. I'm sure an extra $1 on some packets of sanitizer is not what's sending them on vacation anywhere. So it probably was a mistake.
And they're reinvesting in the community. Frankly,
Yes.
I'm not being an apologetic for all of them are my friends. All of them I love them. All of them that I wanted to protect them because this is the backbone of our community.
Exactly.
Pharmacists are being hit. For reasons that I do not want to get into it. I do not want to see supermarkets hit because this will weaken our community.
Sure.
If there was a mistake there, we should forgive. And if there is no mistake, then let's explain. But this is the time that we should come together.
Yes.
And we should support each other. And I think that the 3 supermarkets are doing phenomenal job.
Yeah, this is the beauty of Dearborn, right, and the Arab American community is we are built on the backs of our small businesses.
Right.
And so, one of the things you always notice about East Dearborn is there's a lot of people there, and there's a lot of people go out and spend money, but there's almost no chains in East Dearborn, right? Why? Because our people are building small businesses there. And I think that's something that's very beautiful. And yes, this is a time to support them. And I would encourage people, look, if you don't want to cook tonight, go do takeout. I know a lot of the Arab American restaurants are staying open. Try to support them as best as you can, because they are the backbone of our community. And look, 99.9% of the time, they're doing the right thing. We should not assume people have a bad intention, but sometimes in our community we do. We have to come together, and we have to make sure that we're supporting each other, especially as Arab Americans, because we know very well in this country, in this society, especially under this president, if we don't support each other, no one else is going to come out and support us. So we have to make sure that we stay unified in this time.
Well, thank you very much for joining me today. I know that it's very tough to bring in people to speak. Nobody wants to leave their home if they have, like any kind of fear of this virus. And I have to re-emphasize of the seriousness of this virus. No one should take it, lightly. This is a deadly virus. People are dying around the world, and we have not even seen any kind of it here in the United States. The days to come may be very tough and very hard and very sad. But we have to, first of all, be together. Second, not together, literally, but
united.
Yeah, united, and share information and share the right information. If you are not sure about the information that you are sending out on WhatsApp and on social media, please don't send it, because it's scaring the hell out of people, and it's not fair. Let's make sure that all the information that we're putting there, we're putting it after we check it, and also stay home, keep your kids safe, and keep your family safe. Amr, thank you very much. Go home, smoke hookah by yourself. I feel sorry for you. I'm gonna do the same. So I'm not gonna smoke hookah though, and I'm gonna go home. And for you at home, please stay home, be safe, and thank you for watching.